What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. It's time for another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. I'm your host, EJ Zwarych, and we have finally completed Daredevil Born Again Season 1. And I'm joined by two lovely people to help break it down. First up, my good friend and co-host, Damon Gray. How you doing, Damon?
I'm doing super. Doing great. Doing splendid. What a great finale. Really enjoyed it. Excited to talk about it.
We'll obviously dive into it, but I thought for a second one of your big theories was coming true, but we'll get there when we get there. Helping us break it down, if you were watching our live show yesterday for The Last of Us Season 2 premiere, you saw Rachel, but you've seen Rachel lots throughout the show. She is back, Rachel Leishman, in her Daredevil best. How you doing?
I'm good. I just came from watching it in a brewery. And having seen it, a full month ago, it's been really crazy watching people interact with this as like a new thing. And it was really fun watching them freak out thinking Luke Cage was appearing.
Oh my God.
I was like, no, not at all.
I can't believe they did that to us. We'll get there. We'll get there. He sounded like Mike Coulter, but we'll get there.
It was just a black man named Luke.
Yeah, come on, TJ.
I wasn't even looking down. I was writing notes on my phone, and then I hear Luke, and I was like, "What?" And I just spring up at the TV, and then just immediate disappointment. But oh my!
You are part of the problem.
I was. So let us know in chat. Did you think Luke Cage was appearing in that episode for a second? But we'll get there. Thank you to everyone who is joining.
They could have picked any other name, to be fair.
They could have chosen any other name. Exactly.
Luke is a very common name.
Yeah, but that obviously is. If they would have said Jessica, I would have freaked the fuck out.
There were two blonde men named Luke in my theater department in the mountains of North Carolina. I'm just saying it is a common name that people have.
If they would have said Jessica, if they would have said
I would have thought
Jennifer,
my best friend was there.
even if they would have alluded to She-Hulk, I'd have got excited as hell.
If they said Danny, I would have turned off the.
If they would have said Danny, I probably wouldn't have reacted. If I'm being honest.
Haters.
Forever.
Or if they said
Danny
Gore,
Rant
it
hater.
would have been just.
If they would have said Colleen, I would have got excited. Anyways, we're here to talk about this Daredevil Born Again Season 1 finale. Thank you to those watching us live on YouTube today. Smash the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our upcoming shows. We're live every week talking about The Last of Us. Next week, there's no more Daredevil, but guess what? We'll be back talking Andor because the first 3 episodes drop next week. I did get to do my first of many interviews for Andor today. I got to talk to Cyril and Dedra, and so my interview with them will be coming shortly. We talked about their motivations for why they serve the Empire, their true feelings for one another. It was a really good conversation, so make sure you stay tuned for that one. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow the Agents of Fandom on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. Damon, throw it to you first. Spoiler-free thoughts on this episode and thoughts on the totality of Season 1 as a whole.
I thought the episode, it's definitely not the best episode of the series. Like, I think we can all agree with that, but it's still a pretty good episode, a pretty good finale. I'm very glad that this show has a Season 2. Because if it didn't, this season would not have ended the way it did. So it's benefiting itself from having a second season because for reasons, it's hard to talk about it without spoiling it, obviously. But
yeah, you can go spoiler mode a little bit. I don't know why I said spoiler free, but more of just like, general thoughts.
I'm just like, it's neat to get a Marvel television series. I think this is the first one so far. We're at the end of the first season. The bad guys won. right? Like, that's the benefit of having multiple seasons of television, y'all. We can expand the story. If anyone being like, oh, they didn't finish the story arc, it's like, because that's why we're getting season 2. And that's the beauty of it. So I'm really excited about that. I'm glad that they put a lot into the show, a lot into the VFX, a lot into the physical effects department as well, the practical effects, because ooh, they went there. But solid. I liked it. I'm really glad that Daredevil's back. I'm really glad that Charlie Cox is back as Daredevil. I'm really glad that Vincent D'Onofrio is back as Kingpin, because those two in those roles is perfect.
The gore was goring this episode, and I think that's what you were getting to, what you were getting at with the practical effects. But Rachel, what did you think about the finale, and what did you think of season 1 as a whole?
Listen, I love my repressed Catholic. I like this season a lot because I think, in past seasons, it was very much about Matt and Matt's journey as a vigilante and a hero. And in this season, like, he's already been a hero. He's kind of over it. I like the nods to his Catholicism and how they did it in the season overall, where it wasn't like he wasn't as connected to the church and he was kind of separated, but he still had those roots. And I really like that this episode in particular showed that while Matt has changed, he hasn't changed that much. When it came down to like his own morals, he still stuck to them. And I did like this finale. I liked that no matter what, Fisk and Matt are always going to end up doing the thing that they say they're not going to do. Because, at the start of the season, it was the two of them at a stalemate. And they were like, okay, as long as you don't do this thing, I won't do this thing. And they both very much ended up doing the thing anyway. And so, yeah, I think I like the finale. I can't believe I know we'll talk about it, but I can't believe they did that. They actually had the Punisher comic panel, essentially, their own version of it, but it was that panel that everyone, especially like in recent years, started bringing up when particularly cops would root for the Punisher, and they're like, Frank Castle has a comic panel for that. So I'm glad Marvel did that. I am glad that Fisk won because it's going to make season 2 way more interesting, and I'm very interested given what happened, what we know from set pictures, how all of that is going to play out, given what happened this season, and
I've just
Matt's
been
history with the character.
going around muting anybody I see on Twitter posting unsolicited set pictures. I'm going mute. If you put hashtags, you give me some kind of warning that I'm about to be looking at set pictures, fine, that's all good, do what you got to do. But unsolicited without warning, just putting them out there, getting the absolute auto mute for me. But let's start diving into this episode, because there is an absolute lot to talk about. I was expecting a lot more bullseye in episode 9, which we didn't really get except for the opening. But Damon, I'll throw it to you first for your thoughts on the opening. I kind of always assumed Foggy dying had something to do with being Daredevil's best friend or Matt Murdock's best friend, and less to do with exposing a pretty cool hidden truth that they had going there.
How did Matt not know this is what Foggy has been up to at his own firm?
You think Matt knows what Kirsten's up to right now?
But like, they're avocados at law. Like they're buddies. I don't know. I was that whole thing with like, oh, Foggy was like about to do something. I'm like, I feel like he would have brought that up to Matt at some point. But like, I get it. This is storytelling. We're just kind of like doing things to push a story along. I get it. But I thought it was interesting. And I like little like fun little facts like that, weird little quirks to push the story forward as well. It was interesting.
MTF in chat saying Matt's lawyer skills are highly questionable. Look, Matt is the type of lawyer where you just get him in the courtroom and let him talk to the judge, talk to the jury, outwit the other lawyer. He's not going to be sitting there doing all the research. That's not the kind of lawyer Matt is. It's not about the fine details. He Harvey Specters it. He goes in there and he just out charismas everybody else in the courtroom. Rachel, what did you think of the reveal of why Foggy died in the opening sequence with Bullseye in jail?
It is, well, first of all, I can swear, right?
Oh, yeah.
Fucking Poindexter, man. First of all, the fact that his name is Poindexter never ceases to make me laugh. Because Poindexter? And he became a fucking, marksman? Anyways, Poindexter's whole deal always is just some nonsense. But what is funny to me is that Foggy just happened to stumble upon this. It wasn't it is so true to how Foggy and Matt function as lawyers that Foggy's death is because he accidentally stumbled onto something. Not that he sought it out or figured out what was going on. He accidentally stumbled into the free state idea that the Fisks had. You can't really fault him one way or the other, but it is kind of funny that that's how Foggy died.
We come back to the present, and Matt is waking up from, I don't know if it's operation. Did they get a bullet out of there or what? He was still kind of bleeding on his gown. It kind of just seemed like they pumped him up with some drugs and that was it. But poor Heather, and you know what? Screw Heather, not poor Heather. Heather's doing some shit at the end of this episode that I do not condone. But she wakes up, she's by her boyfriend's side, and what's the first name he says? Karen.
Matt, you slut.
I loved the Matt and Karen and Frank stuff throughout this episode. We get kind of everything being set up at the beginning. We get to see what Matt's up to. We see what Fisk is up to. Him and Vanessa have their little conversation, and he tells her he knows about Foggy's assassination. I had a thought for a second that what if she actually is faking this love with Wilson and she liked being on her own a little bit better, and she sent Bullseye to kill Wilson a second time. It was her setting things up with Bullseye again. But I don't think that was actually the case. That was just kind of a thought that ran through my mind. But Damon, Kingpin is fully back in white. The vigilante task force is in effect. He calls martial law. I'm early. He orders his little task force to go kill Matt, turn him into a martyr so he doesn't have to worry about Daredevil in the future. As the chips are falling into place in this episode, I think the beginning, when things were just getting set up, I think that was my favorite part of the episode.
Yeah.
Second favorite. Sorry, Matt and Frank
yeah.
is number one by far. Sorry, my bad.
Please.
My bad.
Please. Yeah, no, that part was just solid build up to a climactic action scene, because I've been kind of patiently waiting for a pretty solid action scene for the last few episodes, and this one delivered. So at least we got there. A little bit of build up.
There's a quick little moment with Matt telling Kirsten Kirsten telling Matt that they need to talk. Kind of seems like the chips are falling into place that she wants out of their little partnership that they got there. Rachel, what did you think of the various opening sequences we got in this from all the different characters' perspectives? What stood out?
For me, what stood out was, well, actually, no, that comes later, so I will save that thought for later. But I don't know. I do like that he said Karen, because Heather is being a little, in the room that I was in, everyone was calling her a side bitch. And that was truly crazy to me, because first of all, I'm team Matt Murdock should just be sleeping with whoever he wants. Because when Matt Murdock has a girlfriend, he's a little basic. But I was like, she almost got murdered by a serial killer. I think she gets like a little bit of leeway. But they were not fans of her. And then, she did what she did at the end. So they knew something. But I do love the Karen of it all. I think that was kind of funny.
This all would be prevented with Heather in the direction she goes in. If Matt just told her,
Yeah.
Matt, if you just told her that you were Daredevil, she'd be like, oh,
She's a
okay.
therapist. I don't know about that one.
But it wouldn't have gotten like this far. I feel like it wouldn't have turned
at this point. I'm happy he didn't, just because I don't trust her at all, and I don't like the direction it would have gone in. At the time, I feel like I was with you that it was like, oh, come on, bro, the opportunity is right there. Just tell the truth. Now that we are seeing this come to fruition, I'm very happy he didn't tell her, because I don't trust her as far as I could throw her, and I'm not very strong anymore, so I can't throw anybody. I don't have a very long throwing distance, so that tells
you can throw your child.
Yeah, we just up in the air a little bit, and she likes it. She giggles. It's real sweet. But long story short, I don't trust her, and so I'm happy that she never figured it out and she doesn't know. Matt sneaks and scurries away out the hospital. He gets away from Buck. All of the lights get turned the hell off in New York City. You can see all the stars in the sky. Rachel, you live in New York. I want to know what you think it would be like walking the streets, because I thought it was so hilarious that it's blacked out and you can see like there's these scenes where like cops are freaking out and there's like sirens going and they're trying to get everybody in order, and then there's just some people walking down the street like Tuesday.
It's happened before. People are used to it. This is it would have been the third blackout in New York City. There's got to be one guy that's like, here we fucking go. I will say, I forgot I was in New York, and when they said Con Ed, the entire room started booing, and it took me like a full second to realize why they were booing, and it was because they said Con Ed, and I was like, yeah, that's true. That is all of New York's enemy. It's Con Edison.
There's no way the stars would be out though. Even if all of Manhattan's lights went out.
You can see stars sometimes.
Not the way that it was like.
It depends when the show is taking place. Oh. I know when they filmed it, but when it is taking place, changes. Because
Damon, you are a moon expert, not a star expert. Don't try and get outside of your knowledge. It was
foggy today, so I can't foggy. It was foggy today, so I couldn't tell you. But when it's not foggy, it's nice out. You can see the stars, so I'll give them that one.
After Matt scurries away out of the hospital, he gets back to his apartment, and I thought it was gonna be Karen there. He gives a little smile as soon as he enters. He knows someone was there, and the way he gave his little smile, I thought it was gonna be Karen. But he's got some love for Frank too, Damon. I screamed at the screen when he was in there. Their banter between the two of them. Did you get that haircut just for me? It's incredible stuff. They love each other. I love them. Anytime they're on screen together, it's a treat.
They hate that they love each other, and that's the best type of love. I was a little worried at first that it was gonna be Foggy. I'm not gonna lie. I was a little worried because I was like, I don't need zombie Foggy walking around unless it's Foggy Force Ghost. Then I'll take it. But I don't need a zombie Foggy walking around.
You don't think they're going to eventually do the Foggy comic thing?
I hope not. And I'll say this, and here's the reason why. We've had so many instances now of people being like, oh, deaths mean nothing now. Or, oh, there's no consequences anymore. And it's like, we need to have consequences, especially in a very grounded show that this is. Mm-hmm. So when someone dies, they need to be dead. Like straight up dead. Unless if they have some weird connection with the hand and we're doing some Lazarus Pit Elektra revival going on here. They're dead. That's how I think this should be. So this whole season would be completely moot, completely mean nothing to me if they brought him back to life. Because that was literally this entire season was him reacting to that moment.
He has the prayer card.
Anyway,
That's the
Um,
Catholicism of season 1 of Daredevil Born Again. For those who don't know, prayer cards are very Catholic. That is their extent of Matt's Catholicism, was Foggy's prayer card.
When Frank says to him, "Why would you take a bullet for that asshole?" I definitely thought we were going to explore that a little bit more, and I hoped we were going to explore it a little bit more in the moment. But I didn't have very long to be upset about it, because immediately we go into this sick action sequence that starts with just the biggest of headshots. Like, bullet right through the dude's brain. And Matt's complaining that Frank's doing all this killing, but he's doing nothing to stop him. He's like, hey, please don't do it. Damon, what do you think of the action sequence between the two of them there, leading into almost thinking you were going to get your prediction come true with Cole North?
I didn't think it was going to happen there.
No?
Because my whole prediction was essentially he was going to do it by accident, not intentional. Once when like he had him up against a wall and Cole's kind of like literally knife hands stuck into a wall, I was like, oh, it's not happening. Like, I don't think they would have him do it intentionally. The whole point was just accidental. But the action sequence, man, 9 out of 10 action sequence. The gore, the blood, all of that was there. My only critique with it is like maybe a little too much slow-mo. A little emphasis on the slow-mo. But other than that, golly, I cannot wait for this Punisher special, because man, people were worried about this being like not TVMA enough, not rated R enough. I think everyone can like relax after this season.
This episode alone.
And that wasn't even the craziest part of this episode.
No. Rachel, what do you think of the action sequence between Matt and Frank, leading into my favorite joke of the episode? When Karen shows up, shotgun. Matt calls shotgun with just like the stupidest little. I love when they give these stupid, like, I know it's kind of corny, cheesy, but I love the stupid little reminders that this is a comic book project. You know, just like that to me seemed like something I would see on a comic book panel, where just like new character shows up and you have these two bloody as hell superheroes looking at each other, and the one just calls shotgun. It just seems absolutely perfect. I loved it. What do you think?
I love it. I love grunts a lot. I love when he comes in and just grunts his way through a fight sequence. Yeah, it truly was like, here he goes. I tweeted when it happened, she's starting, because as soon as he enters that scene, he's already yelling. He's snapping about coffee, and then it just progresses into Frank screaming about nonsense the entire time. I love that scene a lot because, like I said earlier, it shows Matt's morality, because Frank's like, what about this guy? And just kills the guy. And Matt is like, no, stop. And they're like seeing the two sides of a very similar coin, where it is Frank's mentality of like, I'm killing these guys, and Matt being the absolute living shit out of a dude and probably murdering him, but pretending like he's not. Seeing that so starkly like laid out in that sequence, I loved it. And yeah, I love when Karen rolls up, and I love the like you said, what looks almost like a comic panel when it's the two of them lit up by the car, standing next to each other. I thought that was a really nice little touch.
It was the title card for the episode, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Damon, I'm happy. Like, Rachel kind of brought it up, and I'm happy that we're gonna get there, because I noticed when they get back to Frank's house, not that Frank is ever at peace. Like, that's his whole thing. He's never at peace because of what happened to his family. But he seems like he's in maybe a bit of a darker place than we have even seen him in Daredevil, in his own series. He's just hammering back painkillers like it's nothing, and he seemed a little bit quicker to the violence than even normal.
TJ, that is what clued you into it, not when he had a full beard and looked like he hadn't taken care of himself in probably
Okay,
3
but so
months.
that seemed like depressed Frank. This seemed like manic Frank.
I'll give you that one. I'm going back to my glasses.
I wonder how much of that is genuinely impacted by like Karen moving out west, because she was like one of the only people that he ever knew that like can ground him a little bit, that he could connect with a little bit. And since she moved out to San Fran, like he really had no one. Daredevil, Matt went MIA.
His
He
best
had
friend
no
is now
one.
the Thing.
He's gone. Like he had nowhere to go, so he just kind of like.
Why
I'm
are you
ignoring
laughing, TJ?
It took me a second to clue in. Like I had to go from here to there, and it once I actually clued into the joke, I realized
His
it was
best
a good
friend changed into Ben Grimm completely.
Big pile of rocks, man. I'd be pretty sad about that too, not gonna lie. But yeah, it's I think it's really interesting to see where his character kind of went. Like complete spiral, just focused on one thing, and it's one of those goals that he's never going to be able to actually accomplish.
I think it's a combination of everything. Richard, our guy Rich in chat saying combine Karen leaving with dirty cops using his Punisher stuff for evil shit. It's no wonder he's in a dark place. I think there's more though. I think there's even more to it that will get revealed in his special that comes out whenever it's going to be coming out. I do think the main purpose of it is just going to be fun Punisher action shit. Him taking down this task force and breaking out of jail, what have you. But I do think we're really going to get a window into something else that is going on into his life right now. I was happy I clocked in the moment when Matt and when Karen and Frank are talking to each other. Matt clues in for the first time, like, oh, there's a little thing going on. And I don't think he realized that until this point. And when he clocked their heartbeat speeding up, and then they do end up talking about it after and joking about it. But before we even get to that, Daniel is scary as fuck. We talked about these strong acting performances throughout the series, but seeing him fully turn into this little henchman with his stupid little suspenders, he's spooky. He's spooky, Damon.
He's giving Rose vibes. Just give him a little flower. Throw it in his vest right there. Just give me a little rose. That's all I need. He's pretty much the character at this point. He's Fist number 2 right next to him. I could see him pretty much like taking over for a lot of like the under things that are maybe beneath Fisk at this point. But man, is it really a surprise that like a soprano kid is this good in this role? Is it really a
A
surprise?
soprano kid. Jesus. I have my crackpot theory is that he's actually Richard. Still. I'm still holding.
He looks so much like he should
it.
be, right?
Yeah, I know. I'm still holding to it that like secretly he's Fisk's kid, and he's just hiding his whole name, including Richard. I guess.
I have the same kind of. There's no basis in this theory outside of the fact that he looks like he should be his son.
I mean, not to be, I guess white racist to my people, the Italians, but I'm like, the Italian should be the Italian's kid. And I'm right. He should be Richard.
If he's not going to be Richard, at least give him Richard's alter ego. That's what I'm getting at.
Make them both. Make them both. Eventually, Matt and Karen have a nice bonding experience. Matt tells Karen the truth about what happened with Foggy. Karen sees right through Matt like she does see right through Frank earlier in the scene where she just calls him out for his shit. She immediately calls Matt out for his shit too, and I respect that about Karen because that wasn't always Karen at the beginning. You know, Karen grew into that, and she's been around these two enough that she's like, oh, I've had enough. I know what you're doing. I've seen this brooding before. This is nothing new for me. The little avocados at law sign almost broke me again. Like, just honestly, from the minute Karen came back, I was honestly just like, not like sad tears, but almost like emotional tears coming out of like just pure excitement of like the gang's back together a little bit. And so when all of a sudden I saw that avocados at law sign and they're bonding, it hit me in the feels. But Damon, I thought this Red Hook is a free port thing. That them discovering what, or I'll throw it to Rachel here first because she's got thoughts. I thought this was a cool, fun little reveal that, like you said, Rachel, Foggy just kind of accidentally stumbled upon.
I need to as a New Yorker, I have something to say. Red Hook is the IKEA. So does this mean that IKEA is lawless? That was my
We
first.
always know an IKEA.
Can I go up to an IKEA and just steal some shit? Like, I need to know the extent of this. Like, I know you pass it to me because it made me feel like I had ideas. No, it was just that I have questions about the IKEA because that is all that's really in Red Hook. And it's very funny because when they were there, me and my friends are like, LOL, there's the IKEA. That's literally at the IKEA port. You have to take like a ferry to get to the IKEA or a bunch of buses. And so
they're paying no customs on all those cabinets. Like, imagine all that money they're making over there.
Is this real? Like,
I don't know.
Take some shit.
I don't know if this is a hot take, but the IKEA little hot dogs are so trash.
Well, why would you eat hot dogs when they have Swedish meatballs? What's wrong with you?
I don't know. I just went to IKEA one time and I thought I was supposed to get a hot dog like I was at Costco, and I was so disappointed.
Well, that's on you, because why would you look at an IKEA and be like, it's
There's
like
no IKEA where I live. I don't know. I thought it was like a delicacy. I thought it was like you get a hot dog at Costco, you get a hot dog at IKEA. I was wrong.
It is Swedish, and they have Swedish meatballs, and you said, let me eat a hot dog.
I didn't know. I'm
sounds
sorry,
like
I'm not an IKEA
TJ
veteran.
problem, not an IKEA problem. But maybe if you went to the Red Hook IKEA, you could enact some revenge because it's lawless, according to Daredevil.
This is like the equivalent of going to like.
I'm going to the Red Hook IKEA.
This is like the equivalent of going to Cape Cod and then being like, "Give me the barbecue."
I don't need your lobster roll. I need some.
I didn't know they had Swedish chefs making shitty ass hot dogs. Like, I thought it was a thing that you do when you go there.
Swedish. Did you not look at a single name of any of the shelves? They're all in Swedish.
I knew that. I didn't try to eat the shelves. I just wanted a little snack. I was hungry.
The whole thing, literally, it's labeled as Swedish meatballs. Like, they're labeled as that.
I know for next time. Damn, I didn't think I would get this much slack for just saying.
Yes, exactly, Richard. Like pizza in California. Things
Carlos
you should never do.
He said, when in Rome, try the chop suey. But anyways, Red Hook, as I said, as the Fisks want to do, they want to turn it into a free state. Or, right? Isn't it a free state? City state, yeah, whatever it is. Currently, it is just the IKEA. So, again, my question is... Free port, thank you. Leah, help me out there. It's a free port. But I just want to know where the IKEA stands in this plan. So, writers of Daredevil, Wilson Fisk, Vanessa Fisk, what do you think about the IKEA and the hot dogs there for TJ's sake?
Damon, to reveal the IKEA, the hot dogs, feel free to pick up at any point here. I need a minute to recalibrate.
I mean, if we're going off hot dogs and we want to stick this with Marvel,
I'll just
ask this simple question.
The reveal.
Is ketchup not just icing for hot dogs?
You can ask Glenn Powell and his ketchup line. He just came out with. TJ, maybe you should take that to the IKEA. Try it out.
And by the way, that's a Spider-Man joke reference for anyone who didn't get that one.
I think it's an interesting thing. I think it's an interesting concept, but yet again, as a New Yorker, I want to poke the holes in Daredevil, where I'm like I know where Matt Murdock's apartment building is. It's sure as shit anywhere near Manhattan, but like, given what we saw in this episode, I was like, well, that's not Manhattan at all. I know exactly where that is. It's close to me, but I do think the concept of Red Hook, which, as I said, straight up is just the IKEA being a free port and being used in this way by the Fisks, is very interesting. I enjoy that.
The only thing I'll say on this matter, TJ, and I'll reiterate something I mentioned earlier, which is I still can't believe Foggy never brought this up to Matt. I just think that
Because he
as
didn't
a concept-
know. I get it, because he just was like, LOL,
Why
this doesn't
would he?
apply.
You know, he didn't know it applied to the Fisks.
Well, what if he went to the IKEA and tried a hot dog? He took the ferry and tried a hot dog.
Screw you both. I hate
You're
all of
the one
you.
who went to IKEA and ate a hot dog.
I was hungry and I just thought it was a place that
TJ,
they're
TJ,
selling. Why
is-
would they sell something that I'm not supposed to get?
Because it is famous. It is famous for the meatballs. You Google IKEA space food or space and meatball. It fills in the meatballs. It is known for meatballs. And you said it's like a Costco. Let me get a hot dog. I'm so sorry to Daredevil. I'm just derailed by TJ going to.
You know what's also red like a hot dog? Daredevil. All right, let's move on, TJ.
I'm
He is
gonna
a
go
hot
into
dog.
this Red Hook IKEA and take my vengeance like Frank going into
You can steal it because it's a free port.
the area of dirty cops and just taking all of these motherfuckers out. Like I want to do to Damon and Rachel right now. Until, unfortunately, just like me on this podcast, Frank gets absolutely beaten down. There's too many of them. He can't take them. And he just, again, much like myself and how I feel right now, continuously just gets pummeled and pummeled.
You cannot compare yourself to Frank Castle in this moment.
I feel like as we learned in this episode, TJ, Frank Castle would hate you for comparing yourself to him.
No, but I'm not. Frank would understand my plight with IKEA.
No, because he
and my
lives
plight
in
with
New
you
York.
both for making me feel like an asshole when I was just trying to say I didn't like a hot dog.
I do agree with Jeff in chat. I feel like he knew what he was getting into. He kind of wanted to be caught in that moment. I don't know if he thought he would actually go into like a weird little prison where he's all chained up. But
with your guy
it was
swordsman,
intentional.
just hanging out casually. Looked like he was sipping a cup of tea.
No,
Kate,
yeah,
what are you doing, Kate?
I
What-
agree that he wanted to be caught, especially because I think he wanted to find a way to just like rail into those cops who were like using his symbol for shit. Like he wanted the excuse to kind of come face to face with them.
That, and I think the writers needed to give us a tease because of just show us like, hey, this is what's coming with his. We can't give you everything, but this is what's coming with the special that he has coming up. So I did really like all the Frank action sequences throughout this episode were incredible. Damon, before we get into what happened to Police Commissioner Gallo, let's go back to the origins of it. Did you think Sheila was gonna go side with Fisk or side against him when she just, I don't care that you feel terrible about it, Sheila. Fuck you for going along with it. But Sheila ultimately sets up Gallo for his death and falls under Fisk's thumb.
I feel like she knows she's in too deep. if she went along with Gallo, she would have been next. So this was like one of those only ways that she stays alive.
Rachel, what do you think? Did you expect it, and do you understand it?
I didn't expect it, but I do understand it. But I also like, I think that's the case with Fisk almost every time, is that people are loyal to him to his face and then are trying to like save themselves. And I think it was kind of the rude awakening he needed when he's in politics, because it happened to him obviously when he was a mob boss, but it happening to him when he is quote unquote clean shows that it's not a mob boss problem, it's a Fisk problem. That all of these people are aware of like who he is and what he's capable of. So I think it was the smartest move that the show could do to be like, Sheila is siding with Gallo in that situation.
Now that we're actually at the point in the show, even though we talked about it at the beginning, I will say, and I'm staring down at my phone, writing my notes for this episode. Gallo gets in the car and I hear, Luke? And I just pick a different name other than one of the defenders, because I go, "Ah!" and look up at my screen only to be disappointed and see this little dude's Punisher tattoo come out. But for 1/2 of a second, I thought we were getting a little bit of a Defenders crossover in this finale.
I would like to just point something out. On the Social Security Administration's list of top boy names in the United States of America, I would like you to guess where the name Luke falls. No. It's a little bit further back than that. It is 31st. But there are hundreds of thousands of male names in the United States, and the name Luke is 31st. So
that's not even high. 31st? You made me think it was like
100,000.
How many men names do you think exists in this world, TJ? Like,
it's between 50? Muhammad or McLovin.
What? There's so many dude names.
The most popular name in the world. Read a book, Rachel. Anyways, I thought it was going to be higher. Don't pick one of the names of the Defenders. Jessica's a popular name. I still would have.
Michael's defending me. Star Wars fans. Literally, it's a Star Wars name where they make up so
many. And
if
somebody goes names. Luke in Star Wars, guess what? I'm gonna perk up and think for a second. Oh shit, is Luke Skywalker here? Just because in universe it's a big name for a specific person. But I was disappointed. And then, damn, Damon, I know you like your gore and your horror. We get this Fisk having some kind of moderate.
Bishop's name is also Lucas. I'm just saying, there are multiple Marvel Lucases.
What?
Bishop's name is also Lucas. There are multiple Marvel Lukes and or Lucases.
Yeah, and one is directly associated with Matt.
Saying it's a common enough name.
And they could have chose a different common name to not give everybody a little bit of a Damon, what do you think of the literal skull splitting?
So good. I mean, poor Commissioner Gallo. But I did just watch an interview on Brandon Davis's channel with the directors that they said Vincent D'Onofrio was a lead creative guy in that entire scene on how he was going to do that quote unquote stunt, which is wild that Vincent was so into that like, again, we go back to the violence of it all. I don't think we ever need to be worried ever again about Marvel Studios shying away from the rated R, the TVMA, whatever, as if like we didn't know that already with Deadpool Wolverine. But like this one in particular, we're good. We are good. Great work. It looked more VFX than like practical, but there was definitely some practicality to it, which is always good. I love my practical effects in that matter. Yeah, some good good head twistiness.
That was
But
nice.
but it was a scene where I kind of went back and forth on it, but I like that we saw it because it did give you that gore, because it's going to be compared to the car door scene. And the thing with the car door scene is you don't actually see it, it's implied. Where this, you see it. So then it goes back and forth on like, TJ, which to you is scarier? The implication that you saw like way back when, or this straight up seeing it?
At the time, for the first episode when this happened, I think the implied violence is more powerful because we're still getting to know the character. We're still trying to understand the true depths of his darkness. But throughout this series, when we're seeing him at the beginning trying to repress it and now fully letting it out, I thought it was a great representation of him fully letting out his Kingpin rage. And so I actually think both of them were timed and done pretty perfectly.
And to go off of Ash's point, it was mostly, I think there is some VFX stuff in there, but it was mostly practical because that was actually a second take, because the first one, when Fist did it, the blood, the physical blood that was in that mask, like, was a little too much. So the second take, they actually like toned it down a little bit, because the first one, it was just like a little too crazy. So yes, that was mostly practical.
Very cool. What do you think, Rachel?
Oh, I loved it. I would like to, before I get into it, I want to point out something in the chat that Michael brought up. The Officer Morales stuff. For a split second, I gasped, but that's also not Miles's father's name. So Officer Morales. I'm assuming you guys like the point of that was to connect to Miles Morales because his father's a cop. Or is there a
Yeah,
different
that was the
Miles
first
in
thought
this?
I had too.
But his name is Davis. Because Jefferson Davis is.
Didn't they change it? Didn't he, like, in universe, change it up?
He's
in a
gone
comic?
by Officer Morales in some circumstances.
But most things, it's
Yes,
Jefferson Davis, and then
Yeah.
Aaron Davis, and Miles, to protect Miles, took his mother's name.
Yeah.
That's why he's Miles Morales.
Yeah.
So for a split second, I got really excited, and then I was like, "What would be Davis?" Not.
I was straight up thinking, like, oh my god, is America Ferrera going to be Miles's mom in What If? Just because she had the same last name of Morales as well. Anytime they do that little any name any name similarities, I'm immediately trying to find the in-universe comic character. Sorry, I'm laughing in chat as we're all talking about the practical and VFX effects of of Kingpin squeezing Officer Gallo's head. I just see Carlos saying,
Yeah, I saw Carlos's thing. It was that
after died. Oh, that got me. That was funny. But my favorite, I think, setup for season 2 is New York going into martial law, 8 p.m. curfew, all vigilantism is outlawed. It's illegal. Damon, I know you think 8's a little early and nobody's going to be abiding to it, but
it's New York. I'm telling you, no one's abiding by it.
No.
But
Pause. Yeah, you know when this is not going to be implied? In about 2.5 weeks, when all of a sudden an evil Superman's going to be running around that city, and you're going to be having some clowns over here. One of them just like in a Russian red suit, going to be like, "Yeah, we're here to take advantage of this."
Oh, you mean a hottie Superman? I'm gonna be like this. I'll be out in the streets at 8:15, like.
All of a sudden, like, this will just kind of be ignored for about 2 hours and change, and then we'll go back to it.
Yeah, they'll be like, Yelena, we have the Empire State Building you can jump off of. Would you like to do it? She'll be like, I'm on it.
In addition to our after show, like we always do for Thunderbolts, we will have some interviews coming for that soon as well. So another reason to hit the like button and stay tuned to the Ages of Fandom YouTube page and podcast feed. Had to give a plug in there when I could, but I do think the 8 p.m. curfew is kind of like extra sinister when you think about it, because with his task force, it does just give them another excuse to do whatever the hell they want after 8 p.m. because of said curfew. And so I think it would be wildly thrilling to get some kind of, I know it would never happen, but just in a perfect world, to get like a special presentation of Spider-Man's point of view when this is happening. You know, what part of New York was he in when the blackout happened? What was going on in Spidey's neighborhood? It'll never happen. But I think
You could make it animated. You could make it 20 minutes.
They need to do
There you
more
go.
shit
Here's
like
your
that. Like they used to with the one shots. Like that's all I need is literally like a one shot of what was Spider-Man doing during the New York blackout. I really, really enjoyed those little one shots they used to do. But what do you think, Rachel? I'll throw it to you first. Damon, I kind of was the I want to know your thoughts too, but you kind of teased it with the Thunderbolts thing. Do you think this martial law, anti-vigilante laws will lead right into season 2, or do you think that will be a Thunderbolts or whatever, what have you, kind of breaking things up in the middle?
No, well, I also don't. This I think happens post. Like, where is it in the timeline?
Where that was actually going to be my next question: is do we know where Thunderbolts is
Because
happening in the timeline?
let me think. I just did a whole thing about Daredevil because I wanted to know how long Rogers has been open. Because Foggy died shortly after Matt and Jen bonked. And so then it was what, a year later? 2 years later?
Probably somewhere in there. Matt was already working at. Matt was working at. There was already an established Murdock or Nelson Murdock and Page when he was going to California.
Well, no. That's not what I'm asking. Thank you, Michael. I was asking when past Foggy's death this took place. It was a year.
Oh, okay.
So then that puts us in 2016, I think.
You mean 26?
Yeah, 2026. Because Endgame is 2023.
Hold on.
And
I'm
then
going to the official
Hawkeye.
timeline right now. This will be
Because then Hawkeye is like a year later.
I feel like it's like 2029.
whatever this is the most recent thing in the timeline.
Do we know where Thunderbolts is?
Yeah, we don't know where Thunderbolts
not
is.
until it hits Disney Plus. And they put
Oh, fair, because that's where they actually place it. That makes sense. Either way, how do you think this anti-vigilante martial law will play into?
No one's gonna give a shit. You think the superheroes care? You think Bucky Barnes is gonna be like, so true, Fisk? Let me not go do some. No. New Yorkers aren't even gonna give a shit.
Well, Bucky's too busy trying to make senator.
Well, no, in the one scene, they should have said you lasted 6 months. So he's not even making it a year into being a senator. I'm just telling you, if you think superheroes are going to give a shit, New Yorkers aren't giving a shit. If you're trying to tell me to get home before 8 p.m. with the L train, forget it.
But the thing that I will say, the thing that they showed about this is that the people protecting the city will literally just shoot you.
And then be like, it was a vigilante.
Put the little mask over his eyes, resembling how Matt used to look when he just put his little beanie over the eyes there. But that was
TJ and I,
dark scene.
TJ and I, we talked about this for a while because everyone kind of knew this was going to be like where the season was going. So there's going to be some sort of anti-vigilante law. Mm-hmm. And there was the clip of Vincent D'Onofrio saying like the idea of where we leave this season is terrifying as a New Yorker. And TJ, and rightfully so, you were saying like, well, that as an idea isn't like the scariest thing ever. And I was like, I think I ended up agreeing with you. And I was like, yeah, that isn't. This, though, how they're enforcing it, that's the scary thing.
100%. You had that theory straight from the get-go of like to that video of this is what he meant. And I was thinking like, the outline of just the idea of, anti-vigilante task force and it's going to be illegal like that. Why would that be scary for the common citizen, But you're 100% right. When they lay it out like this, would be a terrifying place to live in that moment where they're pitching it as ultimate laws being enforced. Everyone will be safe because of this crazy amount of security, when it's the most lawless type of society that you could imagine, considering who's in charge and who's pulling the strings.
Meanwhile, Peter's just like, damn, that's crazy.
Right? This is why I need his perspective. What's this dude up to right now?
Sitting in a room like, damn, okay. I won't be out there.
I am so glad Kate's on her little West Coast vacation with Ms. Marvel, just trying to find Scott Lang's daughter. Just get out of here. Please, just do not come back to this city. I do not need any harm to happen to you.
We conclude the episode with kind of just like this brief shot of every single character we've gotten to know throughout season 1, with Kirsten filing a contract to get out of her partnership with Matt, or at least I assume that's what that paper was. Heather's joining up on Fisk's team. We get like each of these individual characters we've gotten to know throughout, except for like, I don't think we really saw Cherry, which I think it's funny because everybody's like, what's Cherry even doing here? This should have been somebody else. But in this closing sequence, we kind of get everybody of this is where they're being left off. You know, Sheila was still crying and just feeling terrified of what she had done. I know Cherry was at the bar. I'm just saying he wasn't really included in this closing sequence. Damon, was there any of those individual closing parts that stood out to you? And if not, do you have any theories or kind of final thoughts from how season 1 concluded and into how it'll blend into season 2?
My poor guy, Jack Duquesne, in his little prison cell. Terrible. Heartbreaking. He just wants to run around with his sword. He's not... Okay, I was going to say he's not hurting anyone, but he has a sword, so I get it. I was really thinking Kirsten, after she was like doing that whole contract thing, was going to be like the DA of New York, and I still think that may be a possibility.
I think so too. With just straight from Heather joining his crew to be the commissioner of mental health or whatever it was.
Maybe let people out of your house past 8 p.m.
Whether like, I think that was like the kind of first perfect tease to lead into, he's going to go after all of these people that are close to Matt and put him in these positions of power ultimately against him. And I think Kirsten as DA is going to be the next move on that list.
Also, is Heather really that good of a therapist?
No, she couldn't even tell a serial killer was a serial killer.
Okay, I was going to get
he
there.
Basically had to kill her.
I was going to get there. You got it.
Who's the better therapist, Heather or Gail?
Neither.
One of the last of
us. It's Bruce.
Bruce to
falling asleep to Tony. All of our favorite characters need therapy, but none of them are getting the adequate help that they actually need. Rachel, how about you? Anything that stood out from the closing sequence? Any big theories for season 2?
There's gonna be a lot of shots of Matt Murdock just like sitting somewhere like this. And that's my favorite version of Matt Murdock, where they just zoom in on him and he is just zoned out, sitting somewhere, not talking to a person, and he looks miserable. And I feel like that's how season 1's gonna start, or season 2 is gonna start. And I'm really excited about that. Let him be depressed.
We get the post-credit scene fully setting
up. Pause. We didn't mention like the fact that Karen got Matt to be like, you need people around you, and he's like, that's right, I need you to assemble an army.
Team.
I was getting there. I was going to get
an
there.
Army.
Getting there.
With the post-credit scene, just essentially sets up Matt Murdock, the Punisher's little special presentation that we have coming to Disney Plus. But I do think the biggest setup and thing leading into season 2 is the fact that Matt Murdock admits he has his Nick Fury moment, exactly what Emma just put in chat. That's the same thing that I was about to say. He's putting together a team. He has his little Nick Fury moment. He says he needs an army. To me, the first reasonable thing just kind of felt like, I thought he was going to be like, we can beat him. We just have to tell the world that Red Hook is a free port. And then he won't be able to do this shit anymore.
We just need to let people know about the IKEA.
We just need to let people know about the IKEA hot dogs, and then no one will have bad indigestion again. But no, he says we need an army. Do we think now that Fisk has his anti-vigilante task force that the next time we see Matt, he will also be part of a team, whether that be the same Defenders we've seen, a new version of the Defenders, or et cetera, what have you? What do you think, Damon?
I think we are one season away from it. I think he will be starting to assemble some Defenders together to defend the city, but they will not be fully assembled until after next season. So we may like a cameo or two next season of him trying to get some people on board because he has to do everything super undercover now. Although he did just kind of like walk into a bar full suit and people were just like looking at him.
He walked into Josie's where everyone knows who he is.
Josie and crew knew that Matt Murdock is Daredevil at that point?
Oh, I think they for sure just did one of those like, sure, we don't know who Daredevil is. We don't know.
That's kind of what I figured too. Like I like the look in Josie's eyes when he walked out to me was kind of like a, oh shit, it's Matt. But back to it, what team do we think this is going to be?
The Defenders. I think it's because it makes no sense that he would get Spider-Man. Because no one knows who Spider-Man is anymore. So he probably forgot that he defended him.
Spidey.
No, people know.
No, but I'm saying like he doesn't remember that he defended Spider-Man. Yeah. So it would be like, I guess we can try that guy. Like it wouldn't, like he doesn't have a connection to Spider-Man. So I think it is just the Defenders. And that's smart.
Who do you think is on that team, TJ?
I think we get Luke and Jessica back. I don't know, and MTF is teasing it in chat. He says, if only Matt knew a vigilante billionaire. I don't know that we will get Danny Rand back. If we do, I don't think Danny Rand will be the Iron Fist anymore.
He wasn't at the end of the show. It was Colleen.
I know. They do have a little tease at the very end where his fist glows too, though.
Yeah,
you get more than one.
I know,
yeah.
I know. But what I'm saying is I don't think he's going to be an active part of the fighting group anymore unless this dude has gotten a lot better at fight training over the years than he was when we last saw him. I'm assuming we don't get full Danny Rand Iron Fist. I think it's going to be Colleen or someone else. Hopefully Colleen, because she was my favorite part of the show. I kind of feel like it's not just going to be the regular Defenders that we've seen. I think it's going to be a bigger group. I think it's going to be a bigger, further reaching Avengers. Like, it would not surprise me if all of a sudden Wong is a Defender. You know, like we've seen Strange part of the Defenders before. It wouldn't surprise me if they plop Wong in there because he's guarding the Sanctum in New York, and so he can help out every now and then. You know, I think this is going to be a bigger. I think we probably get. I think we're probably going to get a White Tiger joining that eventually, whether that be Angela, who saw in this show, or someone a little bit older. I think it's going to be a maybe up to like 8-person team as opposed to the little 4-person team. I don't think it's going to be as simple as just like, let's call Luke, Danny, and Jessica and be done with it. I think it's going to be a larger group.
2 characters you haven't mentioned yet that I think will be a part of it. One, absolutely, Echo will definitely be a part of that squad.
Yep.
And 2, I want to throw in Bullseye. I think they're setting him up for a redemptive arc.
No way.
I think they're setting him up for redemption.
I hope just one person calls him fucking Poindexter.
I think there's a far better chance that he ends up leading the anti-vigilante task force.
I don't know, because there was...
I think he's kind of done with Fisk and all of them. I kind of agree with Damon. I just don't like pointing.
I don't think it's either, but I think that's the more likely of the two if one were to happen, because I just don't think there's any chance that he goes hero mode.
I disagree, but
I'd like to see Kate a part of the team because she has that connection with Kingpin, but at the same time, leave my girl out of the show because I fear for everyone.
Ever
But
a chance
but
they
I would like
make
to see her.
Oscar Isaac's Moon Knight a defender?
no.
I don't think so either.
He really doesn't have any New York connection in the MCU.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. He wouldn't really be in the same location. Let us
Same
know
thing
in
with
chat.
Cloak and Dagger. They're more
who
like
you
New
think-
Orleans based now.
Let us know in chat who you think could be part of a new Defenders team. Is it going to be the same that we've already gotten, or is it going to be something new? MCF bringing up Claire Temple. I did kind of think she was going to make a cameo at some point this season, but never did. I could see her popping up in season 2. Kate and Kamala, I don't know, because I think we're likely going to be seeing them in their own little team, and it is not going to be side by side with the Defenders. And I think that's it for our show today, everybody. I think we've gone through everything we've got to go through from a Daredevil Born Again standpoint. Rachel, any final thoughts before we start closing up shop?
I love my boy. I'm so glad he's back. And that is all.
Where can the people find you on socials? And do you have any fun content coming up?
You can follow me at Rachel Leishman on Twitter, Rachel_Leishman everywhere else. You can read my work at the Mary Sue and Collider. You can listen to my podcasts, the Powell Pod, Padre Pascal, the Fordcast, and Cinema Sips, wherever you get podcasts. And not really.
Like I mentioned previously, you can find my interviews with Denise Gow and Kyle Solar coming up soon to the Agents Fandom YouTube page and wherever you get your podcasts. They, of course, play Dedra and Cyril in Andor Season 1 and 2. And so that'll be dropping shortly. Plus, we have a fun interview with our own Carlos Freitas hanging out in chat. He got to talk to Jason Aaron, comic book writer at C2E2, and that'll be dropping here this week on the podcast feed as well as the YouTube channel. So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe wherever you get your notification, subscribe to the notifications, and wherever you get your podcasts. Also, we got even more Andor interviews coming up soon. We've got a red carpet event in Toronto coming up. We're going to be talking to Mon Mothma. We're going to be talking to Luthen Rael. And even more fun interviews coming up. So again, stay tuned, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're going to be chatting The Last of Us every Monday. Next week, we start Andor Season 2. And Damon, you missed last week for the Comic Corner because you were out in on another continent. Surprised they even let you in. But looks like you had a fun time. And I wasn't saying because you're you. I was saying because you're American. Looked like you had a great time. And what's coming up this week on the Comic Corner?
Ultimate Wolverine is banger. Great book. What a great book. We get like an actual really evil Colossus and magic in that book, and a Wolverine who is the Winter Soldier in the Ultimate Universe, and it's very cool. He doesn't speak, and it's very fun, especially to have like a main character who literally doesn't speak at all. The Summer of Superman special, because we have a little movie coming out this July, TJ. I don't know if you heard. It's called Superman, and DC Comics is doing a lot to push the summer that is of Superman. And speaking of Absolute books with Jason Aaron, who writes Absolute Superman, Absolute Flash #2 is out this week, and we'll be talking about that as well.
That'll do it for this week's show. Like I said, we'll be back later this week for Comic Corner and next week for The Last of Us and Andor. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. We will see you again next week. Peace.